Check, check. Hey. Hello, everybody. So, this is going to be exciting because something behind me is the PC that we built, and it's pretty insane. And I've got the PC set up over here, and what we're going to be doing is actually seeing it in action. How good it actually is, what it can do. Will it actually utilize two of the GPUs? How much power is it going to draw? What's the CPU usage like? So we're going to be testing DaVinci Resolve as well as Premiere Pro at the same time with exactly the same thing. So hello everybody who's already joining in there. If you don't mind, answer the poll. Looks like right now there's more DaVinci Resolve users than Premiere Pro users, which is slightly odd. I'm getting over a little bit of a cold, so that's my I might make some funny sounds here. But why don't we jump right in? Okay, doing like that. So what you can see over here, even if you don't know what we're doing or if you're not interested in video editing, I'll just explain what's going on. So I've got DaVinci Resolve and Premiere Pro open. Both of them have exactly the same things or the same codecs loaded up with as similar of effects on them as possible as well. Now DaVinci Resolve has a little bit of a heavier color grade on. By color grade I also mean noise reduction. There's like a few curves, look one, and noise reduction. The noise reduction is not exactly the same as on Premiere Pro. So this adjustment layer here, let's go, thanks controls, is not exactly as heavy as in DaVinci Resolve. So DaVinci Resolve does a little bit more kind of on the GPU, but just so that we're roughly about the same, that's what's going on. By the way, if you haven't seen this PC build, then I've got it linked in the description below, as well as if you just click on this channel, you will find it there. Hello from Texas. Hello everybody. Just feel free to chat away on the comments. I'll be, checking up on there, but I want to crack on just to actually show you what's going on. Now I've got this mirrored image there as well, so what you should be seeing, I'm seeing here on the screen as well, so I can give you live feedback on this. So this is a normal mirrorless camera codec A7S3 8-bit 420 60 frames per second H.264. Feels extremely snappy. So Premiere Pro and DaVinci Resolve was slightly different the way they play back this codec as well. So this is 60 frames per second and it is 4K. So if I take this up, you can see it's Ultra HD 3840 by 2160, 60 frames per second, and it's playing it back full resolution. And this green thing here will show you that if it goes yellow, it's dropping some frames. If it's green, it means it's not dropping any frames when playing it back. Sorry about that. Hello from Switzerland. On the right side of the screen, I'll explain what happens here as well. You can see Task Manager in the background here, and you can see CPU usage, memory, how much memory is used. We have 128 gigabytes running at 5000 megahertz, so 4 sticks in there. Then we've got the UHD graphics inside our CPU, which is the 14900K. And then we've got two RTX 4080 Supers. So you can kind of see this in the background there, see what's being utilized in different codecs and so on. And then also I have this hardware info open on the side there, where you can see, I'll just zero this now as we start this test, how much GPU power will be used in there, for example, how much GPU memory is allocated. Okay, as you can see here, right now we're using apparently 13.7 on one GPU and about 14.5 on the other one. So it's just interesting stats there. Idling 4 watts, that's really good because of the 440 series. This idling at 7 watts, the other GPU. So not bad at all. So playing back this first clip, this will be probably played back on the GPU. Yeah, as you can see, this is not, actually, this iGPU is playing it back. So if I'm pressing play, oh, it's very snappy, like very instant. extremely fluid experience here. And we're decoding on the iGPU. "14 frames dropped." I don't know why this is there. It's just some kind of random thing when I clicked away. But this feels very, very fluid option here. Now we can try 24 frames per second. Same codec, 10-bit. The bit depth doesn't make any difference here. Just because it's 24 frames per second, looks a little bit more laggy to me. Obviously, YouTube is compressing it all into 30. But there we go. Why is iGPU active? iGPU is active because iGPU can play back certain codecs that the dedicated GPUs can't play back. That's why it is active. And as we go on this test, you'll see that certain codecs will play back much better on the iGPU than on the DGPU if you've never experienced this before. So 24 frames per second, very good as well. 30 frames per second. So this is 422. And this, if I press play, will be played back on the CPU. Look at that, CPU will be the one. GPU is doing nothing, iGPU nothing. This NVIDIA GPU is not decoding the footage. Neither of these GPUs is doing that, it's doing it all on the CPU. Because 422 10-bit is CPU. H.264, it's heavy on the GPU. And as I scrolled through this, you can see the CPU spiking up there. So software playback. We'll get to DaVinci Resolve in a minute as well, but here I want to show you the difference between the SI, so all intra versus non-intra codecs. So this is 25 per second, Sony a7S III, 10-bit 422, 4K, and scrolling through is okay, playing back is fine as well. Actually, scrolling through is one of the best I've ever had. That's insane. 14900K is much better than the 13900K on this. Honestly, this is very buttery smooth. But the SI, this second clip here, is much easier because it is each frame separately rather than a long group of pictures. So playing it back is much easier on the CPU. It's no problem there. I'll try a little bit more of these 60 frames per second ones as well, and then we'll compare it with DaVinci Resolve. Does the onboard graphics ever do anything? Oh yes, Bugatti 7510. You'll see. If you think it's not going to do anything, if you think this iGPU is just, you know, a joke, we'll get to a bit where, see that one over there, number 7, 2 more to go, and that's going to be insane. You'll see. So this is 422 10-bit 60 frames per second. This is completely played back on the CPU. As you can see, we're using 66 gigs of RAM. When scrubbing, playing through full, honestly, it's such a good fluid experience, especially if you're clicking through the timeline. This feels very, very instant, and honestly, the best experience I've ever had. The last I think I did this was a Threadripper one. This is extremely, extremely good one. Both of these very, very good. Now, let me go to DaVinci Resolve, and I've got very similar clips open here. So this is 30 frames per second timeline. And if I go to timeline settings, you can see it's Ultra HD timeline. Playback is 24 frames per second. Let me try this at 30. Let's see if this is going to be weird. Okay, why is this? Yeah, there we go. That's better. So looking at this here, if it plays it back, it does show that it's playing back 30 frames per second. But scrubbing through, I wouldn't say this is necessarily smoother than Premiere Pro. The way it feels to me, it lags back. So this is DaVinci Resolve 18.6.2, I believe. Yeah, build 2. So 18.6.6.2, anyway. Let me go back to Premiere Pro, just double check this. Which clip was this again? This was 30 frames per second, 422 10-bit. There we go, this one here. Scrubbing through. Honestly, if you can feel here what I'm feeling right now, Premiere Pro is smoother playing it back. It utilizes the CPU much more than DaVinci Resolve here, but it is much more fluid experience. Yes, when we take the color grade and all the effects off, then DaVinci Resolve feels even smoother and even more snappier. But if we do put the color grade and everything on, then DaVinci Resolve is a little bit more laggier. Which one should I choose, 4080 or 7900 XTX for Unreal Engine NVIDIA? No question about it. Okay. Now, this is 4K 25 frames per second, 422. Similar what we did before. But again, slightly laggish, I would say. Taking the color grade off. Is there a shortcut for this? Even when scrubbing without the color grade, DaVinci Resolve is not liking it as much. See, that's the weird thing about DaVinci Resolve. If you've got a timeline set to 30 frames per second, and you've got a 25 frames per second clip on it, and when you press play, it actually speeds it up and it starts playing it back a little bit faster than 25 frames per second, because it tries to match the clip to the timeline, whereas Premiere Pro works the other way, or just differently. Whatever your timeline is set, it just tries to play it back, but it doesn't try to adjust the clip speed to the timeline, which to me is just odd way of you know, editing video or playing this back. As you can see, it's slightly like me. I'm like faster than the normal speed. It's a little bit odd. I wish DaVinci Resolve, I've tried to do this, but I wish DaVinci Resolve changed that. But it's just, I guess they've looked into the way, you know, workflows work. But that's one of these things that would drive me mental, because if I put in, for example, a slow-mo clip onto the timeline, if this is 30 frames per second, if I put a 60 frames per second clip onto here, it already starts playing it back like half the speed, if that makes sense. So let me try this. I'll just drop this in the end here. It's not actually. Even though this clip is 60 frames per second, it's still playing it. It's not playing it half the speed. I don't know what's going on. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe someone can help me in the comment section below. So now an SI clip here, 422 10-bit. Okay, why are we? Okay. Scrubbing through this, 25 frames per second, very, very smooth. Let's put the color grade on as well. So here you can see as we're putting the color grade on and I'm scrubbing, both of the GPUs pop to 40% and start playing this back. Or playing the effects back. Both of the GPUs look 113 watts, 114 watts. So DaVinci Resolve does use GPU a lot more than Premiere Pro in the effects department. Okay, I guess it's not bad at all in 30 frames per second. Let's try 60 frames per second. So now our playback should be 60. I don't like adjusting this. Like this is the bit. I don't like this bit. Alrighty. So So first clip is 60 frames per second, 420 8-bit. Scrubbing through with the effects feels a little laggy. Let's try without the effects. Even without the effects, feels kind of laggy. Oh, see, that's the weird bit. Now I'm playing it back 60 frames per second, so it does play it back 60 frames per second as well. So for some reason it speeds up. Look, this is sped up. Ah. Timeline frame rate, playback frame rate. Ah yeah, timeline frame rate. There we go. So that's the annoying thing in there. Okay. Pressing play. So Jacob is saying there, was a bit confused why you get 4 amp stinks instead of 2 despite knowing the benefits of reducing the megahertz, because having larger capacity often triumphs faster RAM in there, because right now this is running 5,000 not 6,000 megahertz as it says on the box, but I need a lot more than 64 gigabytes or 96 gigabytes. As you'll see, I'll use all of the 128 gigabytes by just doing even just this test to you. Now it looks all right, the 60 frames per second playing this back, but can I be honest, it feels like Premiere Pro is a little bit better at doing it. It doesn't feel necessarily better just in DaVinci Resolve, unless we do take the color grade off and then, you know, edit it without the color grade, but it's not necessarily as snappy. Now, let's go back to Premiere Pro, moving on to this. So this is H.264 420 10-bit, which is accelerated on the iGPU. So now, if I just press play here, check what happens. Look at the iGPU. As you can see, video decode 1, we are playing it back on this one of the media engines inside the iGPU. One GPU is doing kind of nothing, the other one is doing some 3D stuff. Let's look at the wattages. The second GPU, one of them is using 37, 38 watts, the other one 12 watts. But it is played back on the iGPU, the decoding. And as I'm scrubbing this, this is so smooth. This is full resolution. UHD 50 frames per second. I love that about Premiere Pro. Whatever clip you put on the timeline, as you start playing it back, it starts playing it back on the clip's native kind of specifications, not on the timeline thing. So if your timeline is set to 24, it doesn't change the clip to 24 or try to force it into your timeline. So we'll play this back. Very good. If we take the color grade off, nothing much changes, to be honest. Very smooth if you're playing back this one. Now, this is where things get a little bit spicy here, because this is H.265 60 frames per second 10-bit 422. This is an absolute nutcracker to play back if you don't have the iGPU enabled. So when we're pressing play, look at that, the iGPU should go to 100%, and it takes all of the decoding strength to play this back. It plays it back, no problem, but the iGPU, the media engines there, they're doing their maximum for playing this one back. This is 60 frames per second. If you don't have the iGPU, go have a look at my... Did I do one with the Threadripper one? Go have a look at some of my Threadripper like versions of this. When I did this, it just wasn't able to play back that this exact same thing, even with 64 cores, an insane amount of RAM. It just wasn't this. But this here is buttery smooth. I mean, you'll have a little bit of a compression and lag and everything there. What I'm seeing on the screen here is like buttery smooth, full resolution, no problem whatsoever. You can play this back. It's insane. And it's 60 frames per second, so as you can see, if you slow it down, I believe this is 50%, yep. No problem. Alright. Look at this. Very, very smooth. Now, let's go to DaVinci Resolve and try to do exactly the same thing. Where are we? Is it this bit? Yes. So there's some H.265 clips here in DaVinci Resolve. Firstly, we'll try the first bits here. 50 frames per second. Honestly, kind of like... I know it's playing the 24 frames per second, so it's not actually using the hardware as much as it wants. Even though the clip is 50 frames per second, it only chooses to play some of the frames and kind of skips some of the frames and plays back only 24 frames per second, which is odd, I guess. Scrubbing works pretty decently. Now, let's move on to this bit here on DaVinci Resolve. Pressing play. Again, look, iGPU, that's why you need it in DaVinci Resolve, because those GPUs can play it back, hardware play it back. If you didn't have the iGPU, it all goes on software and CPU, and it would just be insane. Now, the scrubbing for this is alright. Doesn't feel as fluid just because the way I've got DaVinci Resolve set up here because of the timeline is 24 frames per second. Changing that is a bit of a nightmare with all of these different tests that I do. But just to give an example and show what it's capable of. Look at that. It is struggling. Did you see that? When I press play, all the color grade and stuff that was happening through Fusion, it really stretches those GPUs out. One is going 100 watts, the other one 98 watts, 14 gigs of VRAM used, so very much maximum to what they have. But it's going through. Now, let me move on a little bit. This is 4K Red Raw. Doesn't feel as fluid, even though this is 24 frames per second Red Raw. Wait a second, where is our metadata? There we go. 24 frames per second, as you can see. It's not particularly smooth. Okay, when we take the effects off, yeah, that's fine. But when we put the color grade on, I think the noise reduction is the one that actually kicks the bucket. If we go to here, this is, let me just close these clips. Okay, Red Raw here. When we try to play this back here, it's so much smoother. I don't know why is you dropping the frames. Look at that, one of the GPUs is 100% utilized. Does the iGPU respond faster than external graphics? I'm not sure what you mean by that. Okay, very smooth. Did load them in RAM now. Let's go back to Canon C200 4K as well. So we tried this one. Both of them kind of equally the same. This is Canon C200 RAW. Okay, scrubbing this. DaVinci Resolve is not liking it. Look at the GPU is. Click. Go. As you can see, there is a bit of a lag. Come on. And change. So it's not particularly smooth. If we take the color grade off, yeah, it's smooth. The color grade is the one that makes it slow in there. When you're playing it back without the color grade, DaVinci Resolve is just happy to respond. With the color grade, go, 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 go. What is the bottleneck here? Literally, just won't play it back. The noise reduction is too much for this C200. It's just absolutely not having it. Okay, going to Premiere Pro. Let's move on to, okay, we did that one. Okay, 120 frames per second. Full resolution. I've never seen any PC play that back, or Mac or anything. Not bad. So some of it goes to our iGPU there. 4080. 106 watts pulled. Now, even though Adobe and Premiere Pro says that just use one GPU, 2 GPUs don't do much, it does utilize 2 GPUs, so I don't know what NVIDIA is talking about. Look, one goes to 91%, the other one to 41%. Playing this back, yes, we're dropping some frames, but we're still very, very smooth in terms of full resolution. Let's see if a quarter of a resolution we can play this back. 120 frames per second. I don't think Premiere Pro will actually play any clip back to 120 frames per second. I think just the playback engine will just be capped at 60. Yeah, look at that. It will just drop frames, even at 1/8. It did drop 12. Well, actually, might be wrong. Look at this H.264 4208 8-bit. 120 frames per second at 1/8 of a resolution playback. It does play it back. Let's try 1/4. It does play it back. Oh, look at that. Even quarter plays back. Now that's interesting. And H.265 420. That's not quite what we like in here at full resolution. The snappiness is fine, but it won't play back when I press play. Okay. I want to skim through some of these things here now on Premiere Pro to see actually where we start to bottleneck here. So this is 5K Red Raw. Okay, scrubbing at full resolution. I'll just close DaVinci Resolve so it's fair on Premiere Pro, and we'll do it the other way as well later. I'll close Premiere Pro when I'll open DaVinci Resolve. But scrubbing, oh, much better now. Scrubbing through feels much better. Pressing play, 5K Red Raw with 4900K. Look at that, doesn't break a sweat. This is fine. Live show. Yes, live show. Are there RG benefits in After Effects? I'm in After Effects about 75% of the time. Yes, same thing. If you play back the same codecs, it will be the same. If it can hardware accelerate the same codecs like H.265, 422, 10-bit, then that's that. Still, most of you guys at DaVinci Resolve uses. So, 6K Red Raw. Scrubbing through here feels very good. Oh my word. Oh my word. Wow. Okay. Now, when we did that tests with 3900K and this it wasn't playing it back. I did have a 1390, but there was more VRAM and still plenty of GPU power to actually play back this effect. But I have never actually seen this 6K Red Raw played back full resolution. Oh my, look at that. 0 frames dropped. It's breezing through it. So either Adobe's done some optimizations or something, but this is insane. This is so smooth, I can't believe it. It's like something's wrong. Look at that. Red Raw, 6K Red Raw. As you can see, 32 gigs of RAM. It wouldn't work really. So, but I just want to do one thing here, making sure that the MIDI memory yeah, it is on the lowest. So let's maximum amount of RAM being used here by Premiere Pro. I mean, this is very surprising me. I haven't seen anything that plays this back so smoothly. It's absolutely insane. I don't know whether to put this for like Adobe's optimizations or the dual GPU, but this is absolutely insane. Now, 6K B-roll. I did have the color grade on. Yeah, I did have the color grade on as well. Scrolling through a B-roll is like, pff, yeah, move on to the next one. No problem at all. Even 3 B-rolls on top of each other. Pressing play. Yeah, no problem. No problem. It's like an easy clip. Easy thing to do. No problem. Moving on. Right. I'm going to start with half the resolution because this usually is not going to happen. 8K R5 Canon RAW. Pressing play. To be honest. Wow. I mean, if someone says E-cores don't do squats, look at that. Every single P-core and E-core is utilized to play back this. And then, to be honest, this is one of the best playbacks I've had on this. It's absolutely insane. It's absolutely ridiculous. Scrubbing it at half the resolution is no problem. Pressing play kind of takes time, but then plays it okayly. Kind of playing it back. The GPUs don't do much here because this is all software accelerated, as you can see there. But look at that. Let's try full resolution as well. Look at that. 70 gigs of RAM used. As you can see, 64 gigabytes wouldn't be enough either. Just playing back this clip, it takes 70 gigs of RAM to utilize this. Are AMD iGPUs any good? Not for video editing, Jesse. They do absolutely nothing for video editing. Okay, I mean, it's very good. I'm impressed. 8K Red Raw. If you don't believe me, look at the resolution of this. 8,192 pixels by 4320. So that's like, what, 35 megapixels, something like that? 32 to 35 megapixels per frame. And it's going to play it back 24 frames per second. Full resolution and go. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Okay, one of the GPUs really gets utilized here. 130 watts. Interestingly, we're using about 12 gigs of VRAM on one GPU and a couple of gigs on the other one. But it plays it back no problem. 0 frames dropped. It's absolutely insane. I don't know what Adobe is talking about not having 2 GPUs. Yes, you should have 2 GPUs. Because, I mean, why would you have a Threadripper system? Can I be honest? After this test, this just renders all the Threadrippers useless. because this full resolution on this is insane. There is no proxies, as you can see, made. Nothing. Oh my word. Oh my word. Billy is asking what case would allow this IIO to be installed in the front. For example, Antec Performance 1 full tower. 8K in real time, scrubbing. I mean, this used to be impossible. And like, we really saw things utilized. I mean, things really come to their knees when playing this. I can't believe I'm doing this right now. This 8K 8 RAW plays back much smoother than some of the 4K and some of the other codecs. But I've never seen anything like that. That's insane. And that NVIDIA GPU really helps with playing this back. Look at this scrubbing. Can you see? Just keep an eye on this wattage there. This bit there. Look, when I'm scrubbing, 162 watts. That is incredible. I cannot believe this. It's so buttery smooth. Sorry, I'm getting a little bit distracted. There is one more thing to do, which is 12K B-RAW. Okay? Come on, Premiere Pro. We can do this. Okay, 12K. Okay, here we go. Full resolution. Each one of these frames is 85 megapixels. 85 megapixels. I'm going to press play. And I don't think it's going to play it back. Okay, CPU 100%. Memory, look at that. We're clocking 77 gigabytes there. And if you plan to play back full resolution 12K B-RAW, no, it's not going to happen. I'll just show you that this is as well. Look, over 12,000 pixels one way. Scrubbing at half the resolution, buttery smooth. I'd say very similar to that 8K what we saw there. And when we're pressing play at half the resolution, it's still kind of struggling. Puts it all on the CPU and kind of can't play this back. Yeah, I'd probably recommend doing it on a quarter resolution if you're doing it. Alrighty, so now what we have here is all of these clips that we just tested on the test timeline twice. So half of these have a color grade on with a little bit of all sorts of things plus denoising. As you can see, 3 sets of lumetri color and denoising on this to give it a run, and then we have them without anything, all exactly the same clips all over there. And I have put this to media encoder. I'll just close this Premiere Pro to actually see how fast this is going to do it. Okay, and I am going to press play. So now this is exporting it into another SSD on here. I can't remember which one of these. It probably goes into that one there, or that one there. As you can see, these two are used. But we'll see how fast it renders about a 20-minute timeline. 10 minutes of this is with color grade and all sorts of things, and 10 minutes of this is just random things. Now, a lot of tests online will show you, okay, how fast is it doing it from ProRes to H.265 or from one codec to the other. But I don't think a lot of people use these editing softwares like that. It's a very specific way for some people in a very specific part of their workflow. But most of the time, people just throw all sorts of clips, different codecs onto the timeline with color grading and scaling on there, and then just let the clip do this. Now, right now it says this is 6.45 minutes remaining. We're going to do exactly the same in DaVinci Resolve and see if DaVinci Resolve does it faster than Premiere Pro, put them head to head, and it's impressive. Now Adobe says that, you know, 2 GPUs are not going to do anything. Really? Well, that's what I've heard. Apparently that's not exactly what it's doing. As you can see, both of the GPUs very much in use in doing different things. One of them 117 watts, look, one of them 270 watts, pegging it. The other one 220. So they're really pushing both of these GPUs very much to the maximum. Let's scroll up. Let's see what our CPU is doing. Where is it? Okay, we were thermal throttling at some point, by the way. Clock speeds. Oh, come on. Here we can see clock speeds, temperatures. There's like one CPU one missing. Let me put the original layout. There we go. Look, 314 watts CPU at some point. Right now I'm pulling about 80. Went to 97 degrees. Not bad. Total errors. PCIe bus errors. As you can see, there was some errors going on while we're doing this. We'll see how much this is. I'm going to take some questions while this is rendering out. As you can see, I hope this is not going to be the final file, because that looks very much like mesh. This could be just something there, but we'll see. Nixa Lakic is saying, is 16 gigs of VRAM enough for DaVinci? Yes, absolutely, definitely. If you have more, it's even better. Don't judge, but would the 4060 Ti 16 gigs be good to start for DaVinci Resolve? Absolutely, Harry. There's no... Don't feel... Most of the people run something like that. You, in some cases, have better GPU than what I'm running down there. I've got a 4070 down there. It's got less VRAM than that one. And yes, it's better in some ways, but it's good. What was the PC price? I believe all the parts together for this one is around 7 grand. Maybe even more. Depends if you count this monitor onto it as well, because the monitor is about 3 grand on its own as well, which is quite insane. Would you recommend NVIDIA A2000 for video editing? Yeah, it's good. Is it best for the best bang for buck for the price? I don't know. For video editing, the best bang for buck is the Intel Arc A770, and you can get AMD CPU as well if you wanted to. As you can see right now, it's kind of slowing down. Uh-oh. We failed. We actually failed. It can't do it. Now, let's go back to Premiere Pro. We just try to do that again. See if there's any difference. Okay. Let's try this again. Let's hope it's not gonna get mushy now. Second time around. Come on, shows only 8 minutes left. Well, we'll see about that once we get to the higher end codecs. It might struggle a bit. So Jacob is saying, which would you keep for video and music production? A, Corsair 4 16 gigs. B, Corsair 2 64 gigs. C, Titanium titanium through, I have 13900K. I would go with the B Corsair 2 times 32 gigs 6400 megahertz, because you have 2 channels. The extra 2 megahertz for the titanium don't give you anything, and you should still be able to run them at 6400 ish. Would energy efficient AMD Ryzen 9 7900 non-X be okay for DaVinci Resolve, even though it's not an Intel CPU? Yeah, it's fine. As long as you don't use certain codecs, you'll be absolutely having a great time. Do I like Windows 11 or Windows 10 better? It's not so much which one I like better. I've got used to Windows 11 now, but Windows 11 has a scheduling for the Intel CPUs with E cores and P cores that Windows 10 doesn't. So if you run Windows 14 or 12th Gen Plus on Intel, then Windows 11 will be better and faster than Windows 10, which is actually one of the things that I notice. Hardware Canucks, Dimitri made a PC there with a 14900K and was still running Windows 10, and I believe he's going to have some issues with his PC. Ganesh is saying, does upgrading ProArt StudioBook i9 24 core to 64 gigs and 4 terabyte SSD will give equal rendering time comparing it with M3 MacBook that you compared last time? Depends what you mean by rendering. If it's just pure CPU rendering, I believe the Intel one will be better. If it's GPU rendering, the Intel one will be better as well. But in terms of video playback and so on, the Mac will be slightly better. Since the iGPU is Intel and your CPU is Intel, do they cooperate better together? Well, the iGPU is inside the CPU, so I can't take the iGPU out from the CPU. The iGPU is actually inside the CPU. There's a tiny little graphics processor inside the CPU, so there we go. So what, I don't know if this question is for me or not, but looks like most people are using DaVinci Resolve. I'm going to end the poll now. I guess because of the look at that. We're still getting this mushy video output. And I've heard this is what happens because you have 2 GPUs. So, perhaps, look at that, having 2 GPUs is not the answer. Look at that, one of the GPUs is getting utilized a lot more than the other one. 100% to 1, and I believe it's going to crash again. Let's see. Come on, only in time we'll just crash this. It was the same when I tried to benchmark this PC with 2 GPUs. Certain codecs, it just goes, you know, kaput and doesn't know what to do. Two GPUs is kind of overkill nowadays. Unless you know what you're doing, then not. Studio drivers, yes, Mark. Studio drivers, always studio drivers. Over 1000 watts? Yep. These two, how much can they go? I don't think these will go to 1000 watts. Because what is about 300 something watts TDP for the 4080 Supers? Look at that, it's gonna go kaboom again. It won't know what to do with this. Is there any benefit of having a 2 terabyte NVMe as the cache drive, or is it overkill? How do you set one drive solely for caching? Cheeks the 777. I have got a video on that on my channel, on DaVinci Resolve and on Premiere Pro, how can you set cache drives. I think if you YouTube search Technotis storage guide, you'll find that video. But 2 terabytes is a lot for a cache drive. 1 terabyte will be plenty of space. Right. What's your best recommended Intel motherboard? For creators, the Asus ProArt Z790 for most people. By the way, I realized that mine, on my personal build, is broken. Just something that I'm doing in the background. I am also testing out the advanced RMA in here in the UK. And apparently the way this works is Asus is sending out me a replacement before I even send the broken one back. So we'll see how this works. I think my replacement should arrive tomorrow. There's going to be a video about that coming out with the whole process and how it worked. But so far, it looks very interesting. Should I wait for Intel 15th? I don't know. No one knows what the Intel 15th gen was going to be. Most likely, they're going to take 14th gen, slap some AI on it, and call it 15th gen. But I hope not. I hope they go down in process node and actually give us much better per watt performance. How important is a QVL list? I'm having 2 sticks of 32 gigs no QVLS RAM, and I am planning to upgrade to 128 gigs of RAM. Should I change these non-QVLs with the QVL RAM sticks, or the 128 gigs to non-QVL work fine? So Rahul, the thing is, depending on your motherboard, what I have had in my experience is that Asus motherboards are a little bit more forgiving with the non-QVL RAM sticks. Gigabyte ones, they just say, no chance, we don't know what the heck's going on, we don't boot, don't give you anything. Even without XMP, just nothing happened. Go have a look at my Lian Li 011 Vision build that we did with really cool chrome, kind of a visual effect thing with all the screens and the fans. In there I'll go a little bit more in detail. But what I've found with Asus is Asus kind of figures out a way how it will still work. Now, if it's in the QVL list, you're pretty much like promised that it's going to work. If it's not, it might not work instead of not working. So as you can see right now, this is just not happening for us. Have you heard of the 13th gen and 14th gen stability issues? I was just wondering if you have personally experienced any stability issues with the said 790 platform. Yes, I've heard, I've experienced, I don't know what it exactly is. But now I know that my motherboard is kind of faulty. I can't say that this is because of the CPU. I think the motherboard's been a little bit dodgy, so I don't know. I'm looking forward to the next gen as well, Gary B. I think we're going to have to cancel this because, as you can see, this is not moving forward from this position, like, at all. Can you use 2 3070 Ti's in Z790 Elite for rendering purposes? Sure, if they fit in the spacing. I don't know by heart what the spacing is between the 2 slots, but it should be fine. So, conclusion for this is Premiere Pro does not like 2 GPUs in terms of rendering. Playback actually working is fine, but once you start rendering, just plug one out and it'll be better, which is weird. Okay, as you can see, Task Manager crashed as well. Sorry, Media Encoder. Alrighty, now let's try this in DaVinci Resolve as well. But in terms of playback, I was so impressed with Premiere Pro. It was insanely good. The 8K raw playback. Okay, my computer just froze. Look, we have a switch on the top, puts the fan's max speed. Let's cool the GPU down. And CPU, the whole system. Oh yeah. Alrighty. It's a little bit of a hang there. So where is our... Let's restart this thing. So, stability issues on Z790. We might have just experienced that live. Best processor for music production, most likely 14900 KS. That's the best because you want single core fast performance. Would it be best to overclock, use PBO, or leave everything at stock settings when the build is complete? Just leave it stock. Don't overclock it. As a creator, don't do it. Okay. Let's open DaVinci Resolve. Open this guy. And open Task Manager. Alrighty. So, wait, we'll go a little bit smaller so that you can see what is going on in the background. Okay, roughly around that. This is alright. Okay. So, no, we don't want that. DDR5, no, no, no. Where's our GPUs? There we go. That's more like it. And our timelines. Okay, let's try 5K red raw. Feels awfully laggy, I tell you this. Honestly, Premiere Pro is not open even in the background, but I gotta give it to Premiere Pro. There's no effects, anything on, but it's not as smooth as Premiere Pro. 6K B raw. Now this gotta work smoothly because this is like their own codec basically. It's buttery smooth, no problem. Now I want to see this 6K B raw. Honestly, it's not playing it back. There's no effects going, no color grade, but it's not able to do it. Bear in mind, this is also a 4K timeline resolution. I haven't even got it to the clip's native resolution, which is 6144 times 3160. Adobe, I've got to hand it to you. You are better at smoother playback than DaVinci Resolve. If you put the color grade on as well, I know it looks like smooth now, but pressing play, it's struggling. Struggling a lot more than Premiere Pro. Let me take the color grade off. Try now. Still struggling a lot more than Premiere Pro. It was a lot better at Premiere Pro. Let's try the 8K Canon RAW. Okay. Scrubbing this is a lot better than Premiere Pro. A lot better. Feels very, very buttery smooth, and pressing play, it's like no problem. Premiere Pro was like, please get me out of here. This is horrendous, and look how much less RAM it uses. It loves to use VRAM a lot more. Even this is fine actually, not that bad of VRAM usage, but this is so good. Let's put color grade on. Scrubbing is now a little bit choppy, still better than Premiere Pro. Playing back, no problem. But bear in mind, we're not playing back 8K resolution. It's like half of it because we're playing back 4K, which is actually quarter of the resolution. Because if you think there's 4Ks going on around the screen, so maybe not that. Let's try 8K red raw. Scrubbing so much worse than Premiere Pro. So much worse, honestly. Even without the color grade, it's chippy chop chop chip shop. When pressing play, it is quite snappy and starts playing, but there's a little pause and go type of feeling. But the fluidity is that word? Sorry about that. The fluidity, the way it flew, how smooth it was in Premiere Pro was much better. This just feels choppy, and you can hear the PC fans going all on CPU. Premiere Pro was somehow a lot better at utilizing the hardware, the way it played back. We've got the same hardware on both Premiere Pro and DaVinci Resolve, but certain codecs, Premiere Pro does a better job. Certain codecs, DaVinci Resolve does a better job. Like the Canon 8K RAW was much better in DaVinci Resolve. Let's try the 12K as well. Okay, I know this is not 12K resolution. It's a 4K one, which is, I don't know, 1/8 of it. The pressing play is quite good. Let's try with color grade. A little bit struggling, but still kind of okay. Let's try if we can. If we put this to, is there a custom? Oh yeah. Timeline resolution, let's do 12288 6480. So that's the same as the clip. Save. Okay, try playing this back without color grade. Oh my word, it just instantly starts to be so laggy. Premiere Pro was much better at this. Okay, let's take this back to 4K. Come on. Now, here's the thing. I've got exactly the same thing in DaVinci Resolve now here. The first part here does have color grade on. Where we go here, as you can see. And then the second part here does not. So if we click on that clip and go to color grade, there's nothing on there. So exactly the same as we had in Premiere Pro. Let's go to exporting here. What we're going to be doing, I already did that, so this is well, let's take it off there so you'll see I'm doing it exactly the same. YouTube 4K, we'll put it into the same one, save, add to render queue, and render all. Let's see if DaVinci Resolve can do it. Okay, look at that. Both of the GPUs 100% used. Not as much RAM used, but GPUs are doing like their thing. The iGPU, not so much help with the export. It's help only when playing back certain codecs. So I'll leave this to do, and we'll see if DaVinci Resolve completes this in time. Bear in mind, this is a 20-minute-ish timeline, and let's see if it can render it out at less than the actual speed. Right now, it looks like it's going to be half the speed. We'll see. I bet it's going to go faster on the second part of the render when there's no color grade or as much stuff happening on there. So I'm going to be answering questions now. I've probably missed out a few now, so if you had a question, please drop it in there again, and I'll try to answer it now. Tag me if it's extremely important, because then it goes orange for me and I can see it a little bit better. So Nixa Lakic is saying, is 14700K and 4080 super good for 4K DaVinci? Yes, it's very good. It's insane. It's very, very good. Definitely. Arrow Lake Refresh 2025 early might be 3 times faster at multicore. Well, I would love this to be true. I don't know if it is. Mid 24, early 25 might be most exciting technology era ever to exist. Yeah, sure thing. I think they're kind of struggling now with the process nodes and actually transistor sizes and all of that, because you know the nanometers don't mean the size of the transistor anymore. It's not, you know, that 5 nanometers is 5 nanometer transistor size. It's just marketing gaga. It's not that anymore. But it'd be interesting still. I think, you know, we've gone to 3 nanometers now, and then the 2 and 1 and whatever they are there, they're like very small improvements, but we'll see. I've heard that Intel switched to TSMC for Arrow Lake. Intel has switched to TSMC in terms of some of their chip outsourcing, because their GPUs, by the way, the GPUs they're using TSMC, and for CPUs, some of the laptop they can use as well, which basically means because of the chiplet design on the laptop CPUs, what they can do is take like one from TSMC, something from Samsung, something from themselves, and slap it together and still get very similar performance. So they're not locked to getting all the chips from themselves or Intel or somewhere else because of them, you know, kind of a chiplet design. They can glue together different what they're called again, different manufactured wafers. Well, not wafers. They're called, what's the exact naming? I don't want to get the naming wrong now. You know, chips. Yeah, chips is the right one. Okay, looking at that, not bad. 10 minutes to go. Let's see if it gets to higher resolutions. How bad is the time going to be? So I use NVIDIA 1390 in my Threadripper Pro workstation. Will I benefit from upgrading to 1490? What are you doing, Kevin? Why do the same clips get directed to the iGPU and some to the 1490? It's because, look at this one here now, because the actual media engines are better in the iGPU. DaVinci Resolve knows that. It actually sends it to the iGPU. Look at that, iGPU 100% used, and lets the iGPU encode it, because it's just faster when iGPU does that. The GPUs, dedicated GPUs, will just help with some of the color grading and other stuff, but the actual encoding of the codec, because it's better, or decoding actually of it, will go on the iGPU, and that's why you need an iGPU. Mark YSSSS2 says, I have 4700K. When viewing the material on the timeline, everything was right, but not as smoothly as I would like. Do I need to switch to 14900K to remove the delays? No. If you've got 14700K, it's no problem. Bear in mind, the 10-bit 422 will go on the iGPU, and it's going to do its best job to play this back. You've already got the best solution there. 14900K won't do anymore. The extra cores won't give you any more, just because you're using the iGPU to play it back anyway, so that's not going to give you that much difference. What I would recommend to do is either drop the resolution to half, quarter, or something like that, or do proxies, because it seems like your system can do very fast proxies, and that will be the smoothest option there. Ganesh is saying he's got a 2,000 to 2.5k USD budget. Should I go Pro Art Studio Book or a MacBook? So if you need it to be a laptop, the Pro Art is pretty good. The bad side of Pro Art is the battery life. There is not a lot of battery life there. If you want a Mac, the Mac's going to be a lot better at, battery life. But you might be struggling with upgrades, storage. It's going to cost you a little bit more. The user experience, depending what you're doing, it's like 50-50. I've used Mac, like I've got the MacBook Air in here, video coming out in there as well. It's absolutely insane for some of the things. It's very, very insane. But for certain things, Windows is still better, no matter. It's just like your workflow. Depends what you're used to. What do you say about a Snapdragon X Elite? They say it's better than 13900. Well, when it comes out, when I'll test it, I'll let you know. Right now I haven't tested it, so I'd kind of be just looking at news, and It's just presentation. No one's actually had hands-on and tried it really. It's just been presentation. So I don't know. They could be lying. They could be cheating. You never know. Do you ever experience issues with Kraken Elite 360? Failing to load your previous settings? How do you handle it? Oh, don't get me started on the N60 softwares and ICE, Crosshair, RGB softwares. That's why having a PC like that is amazing. You're going to have no RGB software running in the background because you don't need it. Just uninstall it all and you'll just be fine. And you don't need to install anything. That's what I think. Now, someone's asking for specs of this PC. Go check them out in the description below. I've left all of the parts in there as well if you want to check them out. But some of the specs here are pretty insane. We'll wait for this and I might go to... I'll show you the specs in a minute. As you can see now, this 8K RAW is taking a little longer than expected. I would disable the iGPU, otherwise DaVinci is going to use OpenCL instead of CUDA. Well, we can try to do that as well. Let's try if the export's going to be faster. If I have time, I do have to go soon, but we can try that. If this exports really fast now, after, as you can see, there's 2 more clips of with the color grade, and then it should be flying through this part. We'll see. This is 12 KB RAW now. We're like 50% through, and when we get to 50% it should fly through. We'll try without the iGPU as well, see if it is faster. So show CPU temperatures. Okay, let's see this. I'm just gonna delete all of this. Yep, I don't need any of this, even these for now, so we can look at the CPU temperature as well. Okay, is that better? Would you like that? Is that better? Look at that. The second part of this goes through a lot faster than the first part. We'll see if it keeps going. A lot of this now goes on CPU, interestingly. But look at that. Our CPU has boosted. Where's our 351 watts. I've got the multi-core enhancement on, and say just boost it however much you want. Just, for whatever. Let's have a look at the clock speeds as well. Interestingly, 6 GHz is not coming. Look at that. All throughout this, we haven't hit 6 GHz. What a big scam the 14900K is. I'm only joking. But kind of not. I'd like to see 6 GHz on at least 2 of the cores there. Hello. Okay, we're almost done now. Do you know just using low-res proxies would make it much smoother? Yes, absolutely. But adding proxies to your workflow increases the time of, making the proxies and so on. So you might not want to do that. But definitely proxies is much faster if you can do that. Nicholas saying, would you say 1000 watt PSU is enough for 4070 Super Ti and the 14900K? Yes. Is there some real advantages of Asus ProArt motherboard for editing? No. In terms of performance, no. In terms of, we're 101 degrees. Come on, let me put... Okay, since we're rendering, I'll let the fans go 100% speed, because there's a nice little switch on the top. If you haven't seen the video of this PC, go check it out, because now it just goes cooler. Everything gets cooled down a lot better. Cool air gets in, even though we're pulling 318 watts, 320 watts on our CPU, and look at that. We're only 90 degrees because I'm pushing a lot of cool air in. Look at that. Did I miss someone's question? What build do I recommend for a 7K budget? If it's US dollars, go check out this one. Okay. As you can see, we completed the render in 12 minutes 34 seconds. But now let me go to preferences, decode option. Let's take NVIDIA QuickSync off. So now it's only going to use NVIDIA. Let's see if it is going to be better. Decompression and debayer as well. Okay, we're going to have to... So 1234, remember that? We'll have to restart that. This switch is unbelievably helpful. Full fan speed. Let's cool it down to nothing. Okay, is DaVinci Resolve still open? Nope. Oh, look at that. We went to 360 degrees. Okay, now we've gone to 6 gigahertz on some of those cores. Let me open this. Okay. Here we go. Back in the same place. Just double check that our QuickSync is decoded. So now it should, let's see, it should use only the CUDA. Let's see if it is any faster. "12 minutes. I should be able to do 12 minutes. Okay, 355 previously. Oops. I'll keep this one off now. Let's put the fans on because we're rendering. And let's see if it goes any faster. Right now, it doesn't show that it's necessarily going that much faster, but we'll see. How are you? Yeah, good, thanks. What about you? Asus ProArt said 690 or Gigabyte Aero 7790. Computer enthusiast. I've got actually that video on the channel. You can find it somewhere. And Nods Zero saying, would having an A770 to complement an RTX card be worth it for 422 codec, especially with the 14th gen? No. No point at all. If you've got the 14th gen already, make sure you've got the iGPU. If you don't have it, if you've got a KF version, then you obviously don't. But no. No help there. Is there any real advantages of ProArt motherboard for editing? No. Would I get 14900K over 13900K if the price difference is only 25 to 45 pounds? If it's more towards 25 pounds, yes, Cheekser, I would get that. Just because you get better silicon lottery, a little bit faster boost speeds, so you're getting between like 5 to 8-9% difference in terms of performance. But if your RAM is going to be a little bit faster as well, just because you can run it on 14900K, you can get between 10 to 14%, something like that, performance increase, and that feels like 25 quid would be worth it. Please open GPU DaVinci configuration panel. Okay, where is it? Anyone? I'm not sure if I'm familiar. What is he asking me to do it? Check memory and GPU panel. It's not opening right now because we're doing rendering cheese. What's your expectation for 5000 series NVIDIA GPU? I think it could be quite insane. First menu on the left. Didn't I just do it? Because it's rendering, it's not opening it right now. But Gabrielle, did you just join or did you see me change those settings previously? Is that what you meant? Have you ever gone above 60 gigabytes of RAM usage during stressful workflows? Nicola, yeah. We've got 128 gigs and we're just editing videos here, and we often see like over 100 gigs used. Just what we're doing, opening different projects, especially when it's a very complex project like the ProArt build that we did in this one. When you open it, the RAM goes to like 118 gigabytes or something like that used. Bugatti 7510. Thank you for videos. I appreciate them. Well, I appreciate your nice comments. Yes, I can't change any settings while it's rendering. So Gabriel, nope. And what do you mean by nope? Did you see me use that before? If you didn't, then I did actually untick the iGPU. So right now, there's only the NVIDIA GPUs used. So we'll see if that is going to be any faster. NVIDIA 5000 series GPUs. What's my expectation? I think it could be good. I've heard that they use the same process node, which means that most likely it's going to be higher power consumption. Maybe they can optimize it somehow, higher clock speeds, but the capacitors are roughly about the same, or the transistor count will be roughly about the same. So we'll see. Does ProArt 4080 Super perform that much better than a ProArt 4070 Ti Super? Have a look at Cheekster. Have a look at my Ti Super review, the 4070 Ti Super review, and then you can see that the price difference between those two, the 4080 actually doesn't make sense. The 4070 Ti Super is actually a cut down version of 4080. So it comes from the 4080 die or the actual chip, and then they've just disabled or cut some of these things off. But it's very similar to 4080. So if you want to save some cash, 4070 Ti. It's 30 to 40% dense. 104 versus 80 gigabytes. I'm not sure what we're talking about here. Sorry, I'll keep that 100% because the GPUs go nice and cool when we're there. Look at that, the memory junction, one of them has gone to 90 degrees. I bet that's the higher GPU. But still the GPU temperature, 72 degrees, is nothing major to complain about. But you can see that the bottom one is definitely cooler. 60 degrees than 72 degrees. Top one is, in this case, 12 degrees warmer. But if you've got the fans on, they're both kind of okay. Top GPU, 14 gigs of VRAM used. Bottom one, 13.7. So it's using both of them. And the CPU is 200 watts utilized. Okay, we're on the second part now. And would you look at that? Whoever suggested that was actually right. Look how much faster we're doing it second time. We'll see it now. 62% complete. Whew. Right. I've noticed that the internal GPU is not being used at all. Is that normal for you? Or in this part right now? Right now, I've turned the iGPU off so it wouldn't use the iGPU. But in your case, if you don't have the iGPU in use, you might not be using codecs that the iGPU can use. But it's sometimes it gets used. Isn't above 90 degrees damaging to the CPU, or is it only for a sustained period of time? Honestly, even 100 degrees is not bad for the CPU. And this is a big misconception that you think that the higher temperatures are bad for the CPU. The worst bit for the CPU is very cold, very hot, and very hot and very cold very quickly, because that can cause cracks in the silicon because of the expansion of heat and then cooling down, heating up. That is bad for the CPU. In terms of heat, if it goes to 90 degrees, the CPU is so smart, you don't need to worry about it. Even if you put a potato on it, it's going to clock itself down to safety. It's very, very rare case that you're going to cook your CPU. It's always going to actually go down there and keep the CPU on the normal clock speeds. It's almost done, 5% to go. Have I ever heard about Galax manufacturer? Yes, they've been around for a while, but they're not very popular. They're, I think, Chinese, if I'm not mistaken, manufacturer. What power supply would you recommend for best bang for buck builds? Click on the video description below and I'll explain everything down there depending on your price point. You'll see. Okay, look at that. So whoever suggested that, that's a good point. So I'll explain what we just did. First time we had the Intel iGPU turned on the PC. So memory and GPU, if someone wanted to use that. So as you can see, we just took the Intel off there. Auto, it uses CUDA there. Now if the decode option, Intel QuickSync, that's on there as well. Memory, look, that was all maximum there if someone was asking for that. But previously we did have the iGPU clicked on and we completed it in 12 minutes 34 seconds. Then someone suggested, why don't you take the Intel iGPU off, because then it's not using OpenCL on the NVIDIA but CUDA, which is better. So we did that and we shaved 2.5 minutes of our render time, which is insane. Now it could have been because I also decompression and debayering was done on the GPU. On the previous one it was just debayering for the red or clips, but that's the bit here now. As you can see, 2 GPUs for DaVinci Resolve. It actually works. It is good. For Premiere Pro, it's best to use 1 GPU because it is better that way. Now, if you haven't seen this build video of this one before, I am very proud that finally, after all these years, I managed to convince ProArt to actually sponsor a video, and we did something insane. I did cash out quite a bit of my own finances as well to make some of these things because they didn't have all of the parts and they're wanting some of the parts back. I'm hoping that I can just disappear with this and never give these things back, because it is very, very nice. I want to talk about the 2 GPU versus 1 GPU a little bit more, because for 3D it makes absolute total sense. For some of the video editing and Adobe applications, it kind of makes no sense. For DaVinci Resolve, makes a lot of sense. So depending what's your workflow, that's that. Again, thank you very much, guys, for watching. I'll see you next time. And if you are enjoying this content, hit that like button. It actually makes a difference. Like button, subscribe. Now the like button and subscribe button should be lighting up if you're watching on desktop. And I'll see you tomorrow, because another video coming out tomorrow. It's quite interesting. If you like GPUs, some special GPUs, some very expensive GPUs, some very nice looking GPUs, you're going to love tomorrow's video. You can guess what it is. And yeah, I'll see you soon. The build video for this is linked in the description below. Thanks guys for watching. Bye bye.